How do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? Why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery, and this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it, and it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? The human brain cannot comprehend the negative. It is incapable. I'll give you an example. Don't think of an elephant. You can't tell the human brain not to do something. And so what happens is we very often reinforce things when we put things in the negative. I can't get a part, or I can't do this, versus I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing this. It's such a huge thing to convert things into the affirmative. You're supposed to do it with children as well. Instead of saying to children, don't eat on the couch, we're supposed to say, eat at the table. Right? We tell people what we want them to do, not what we don't want to do. Pilots know this. It is well known in the pilot community that when you tell a pilot, don't hit the obstacle, they'll hit the obstacle. Because what they're doing is focusing on the obstacle. Skiers know this. If you ever seen skiers go through trees, it's very easy. It's actually surprisingly easy. If you go through trees on skis and you go, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, guess what you're watching? You're only looking at trees. All you're doing is seeing trees. You don't understand how anyone can ski with all these trees, as opposed to follow the snow, follow the path, follow the path. The only thing you see is the path. Skiers know this. If you say don't hit a tree, you'll hit a tree. You won't be able to find a path because all you see is millions of trees. If you say only follow the path, you actually don't see any trees. There's actually very sparse trees. There's plenty of path, there's plenty of snow. It's the same thing for you. If you focus on the obstacles, all you will see is obstacles. If you focus on the path through the trees, all you will see is path through the trees. It's your choice how you choose to perceive your own career. It's literally perspective.
I don't think you can motivate the unmotivated. I don't think you can motivate people. People either are motivated or unmotivated. I think you can inspire people. You can motivate people with sticks and carrots, offer them bounty or threaten punishment, and you'll get behavior that you want. Is there loyalty? Is there love? Absolutely not. Usually, when people are unmotivated, it's not necessarily them. It might be the situation they're in. Maybe they don't belong in the culture. Maybe they feel unseen or unheard. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they're unprepared. When somebody's unmotivated, let's not label them as unmotivated first. What are the 20 other things that it could also be? Let's start there. When I was writing Leaders Eat Last, I got to the point where I couldn't do it. It was too difficult. I couldn't organize all the information. It was just too complicated. I couldn't do it, and I'd been trying for months. I probably missed multiple deadlines, and I was sitting at my computer, and I decided that I had to give up. I couldn't do it. And so I got up and went for a walk, and I was literally planning my exit. I was going through the steps, I was going through the checklist of quitting. I knew that I have to give my advance back to the publisher, because technically I'm in breach. I knew that I would be humiliated, but I was preparing myself for it, and that I would get over it. I was also rationalizing that it was okay to quit. I told myself there are thousands, 10,000 books published every single year. No one will miss this one book. And I literally went through the steps to prepare myself for what I had to do to quit. I'm not sure why I did this, but I called a friend of mine who at the time was in the Air Force Special Forces, and I don't even think I said hello when he picked up the phone. I simply asked the question, what do you do when you can't complete the mission? And as is his habit, he just started telling me a story. He was a helicopter pilot, and they had a mission in Afghanistan that was a suicide mission. All the intelligence showed that the air defenses were just too great and none of them were gonna come out alive. And it wasn't gonna be one of those kill Hitler missions where we're all gonna die, but we'll kill Hitler. This is like, we're all gonna die and the mission will also fail. And he was preparing his helicopter for this mission, and his wingman turned to him and said, what do we do? We've got wives, we've got kids. Do we refuse to go? What do we do? And my friend turned to him and he said, this is what we signed up for. We go. He asked me, he said, is this book more or less powerful than Start With Why? I said, the research has impacted me greater. It's more powerful. He says, all right, I'm going to tell you a funny story. Before I met you, I'd become disillusioned with the Air Force and I was going to quit. And I found this kooky little book called Start With Why, and it completely re-inspired me. And I decided to stay, and I'm a better leader now than I was before because of that book. And if you're saying that this book is more powerful than the first one, then we need this book. He said, this is what you signed up for. You have no choice. Clearly, our lives are finite. We're born, we die, we come, we go. But life is infinite. The game of life will continue with us or without us, which means every single one of us has a choice. We don't get to choose the nature of the game. Life is infinite. We don't even get to choose if we want to play in the game or not. Once you're born, you're in it. We get one choice. Do you want to play with a finite mindset, or do you want to play with an infinite mindset? To play with a finite mindset means waking up every day and saying, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be better than everybody else, I'm going to accumulate more power, more responsibility, more money, whatever it is, whatever your metric is, I'm going to get more than anybody else. Me. And when you die, you take none of it with you. Or we can choose to live our lives with an infinite mindset, which means I'm going to leave this world, this school, in better shape than I found it. It means I'm going to devote my life to see that those around me rise. And we know that we're living with an infinite mindset because our obsession is seeing that we have an impact on the lives of the people around us. We've all had teachers, and some of you are those teachers, where 20 or 30 years from now, I can go to one of your students and say, you're a remarkable human being, you've accomplished so much in your life. How did you become the person you are today? And they will tell me your name. We all remember the teacher who believed in us. We all remember the teacher who had our backs. We all remember the teacher who saw something in us that nobody else saw. We've forgotten all the others, but we remember those couple. And that's what it means to live with an infinite mindset. It means we devote ourselves to that mindset for everyone in our lives. That other teachers will say that about us. Other principals will say that about us. Other students will say that about us. Our friends will say that about us. I am who I am today because of you, and I will commit to live the same life that you taught me how to live. And you will literally live on beyond your own lifestyle, your own lifetime. That when you're gone, others will carry your work for you. This is what it means to live an infinite life, and it is just a choice.